I don't have a question. I have a just one reflection on the two other panelists, that it just shows the necessity of bringing together people from different perspectives. For bringing together people who have the entrepreneurial background, who have the historical background, who can inform us, who have the theological background, that we all do need to collaborate and work together with people on the ground, um, to make important things happen and to serve these communities.
I have a question for Dr. Mbodj. You explain the expansion of Muridism in Salum and Upper Gambia, but it looks like what happened in terms of agriculture did happen also in retail business in the urban area. And when they come there, I think what we used to call the Libano-Syrian and the companies like Morale Prom and others felt threatened. Don't you think is the same spirit, the same type of self-confidence happened in also in a urban area as a historian, if you can help us?
Uh, Definitely. Well, first of all, something that I failed to do at the very beginning, just to thank you for organizing this panel and allowing me to be in your company. DAM knows that we have been collaborating since the early 1990s at the time of Mayor Dinkins in this
Absolutely.
particular Bamba Day. So it's a long time. Anyway, yes, to answer your question, you're absolutely right. Sometimes people look at Muridism and its expansion up until the 1970s as being an exclusive rural phenomenon. What they don't realize is actually it allows for urbanity to exist in areas. Kaulak was a kind of a big village, but it became really a city because of the services and the establishment of trade around grounded, but also of services to the local population by the Murid, the Garden of Bustan that I already mentioned, the transportation, even the corridor, Porohan Kaulak, becomes very important. The pilgrimage itself was an economic kind of an engine for growth in that part. And if you look at Catherine, if you look at all of those areas that are now considered to be cities, actually the role of Murid establishing themselves and providing for services that were not necessarily provided for by colonial authorities, and acclimating activities that were very familiar in Western Senegal, around the big cities of Saint Louis or Diourbel or Dakar. It's the Murid transported those activities and those connections into those areas and allowed them to build an urban connection that was unexistent before. So therefore, I think that this ruralism, this idea that Muridism is about farming and only farming and something may come up down the road, had to be, how to put it, rectified. From the very beginning, they were inserted into urban activities and allowed for the urban centers to exist and to prosper. And today, it's part of the landscape. The Murid local merchant, the Murid local grocer, the Murid provider of a daily food staple at the local market. Even the market itself is dominated by the Murid community because of their insertion into that peri-urban type of economy. And that definitely need to be a little bit researched about.
Moctar, I have a question for you. In your conclusion, you explained new challenges with Tuba becoming a big city today, and what you call the official infrastructure for education is not up to the challenges of taking care of all the kids who need to go to school and have professional training, and that kind of situation maybe bring us to Tuba today with a lot of youngsters coming from the rural area, coming from the Dara with the good learning of Al-Quran only, but no professional trainings or any modern education in terms of the secular world. What do you think the Murids should do today to tackle these challenges?
I think that you stick really where we have big problem, and then that's so critical. Then usually I used to say that it's very important for the Murid communities to stop and then to put very strong and deep brainstorming regarding this point. The first fact is people or young boy going to the Dara is very important, it's the basis. But at the end, they need to have something qualified, some job in order to be able to face the real life. Because تبالي حبد الموردين صالحين بخدمتي بهديتي. It's like you can't give hadiah without working. You can't work if you don't have any qualification. So learning Quran, learning Hasaid and everything, that's good. But young boys should be able at the end of these courses to be able to have a training for something qualified. And goal, exactly, for obviously. After this qualification, we are facing, okay, they got a qualification, what are they gonna do? We need to build up an economy where we are able to create a lot of jobs. And we all know when we talk about economy, the main sector where we can create a lot of jobs start by the industry. Industry can create more jobs than the commerce, and something job more sustainable and then a more positive job rather than the commerce where we have just like a small shop. It's working today, it's not working today, it's not formalized. However, running industry, that means getting access to the raw materials. No one at the entrepreneurship point of view or investment banking is going to open an industry without being sure that we can have the raw material. We talk about agriculture, the first sector, the primary sector. And this is just like this ecosystem we need to build up. It might take time to say, okay, we have to put the agriculture in the second level, not only for eating or for giving a deer, but to create intensive agriculture. Dr. Laura shown something interesting in them when we put what we call right now agriculture for soilless, agriculture for hydroponics, where you don't need a lot of water in order to perform high performance and then high rentability. That is something we need to explore and to support. For one reason, as I mentioned, not only for eating, but for creating the next generation of industry in order to fill up this gap in terms of employment. I think this is the challenge. It is something we can do as Murid and then taking the diaspora and then the local investor, but we need to be confident that this is what we have to do. And then this is a challenge we are facing, not something else.
One of the things that you pointed out there was the confidence of the youth versus the older generations that have established these. One of the interesting things that's happening in both Ndem and in Baki Kajor, especially in Ndem because it's been established longer, is that the young people have gone away. The young people who have grown up in the Ndem Dara have gone away, become educated, and now many of them, not all of them, but many of them are coming back and becoming the leaders in the Daras and bringing in new knowledges. So I think it is, these new knowledges are becoming circulated in interesting ways with the next generations. I think that confidence is there. It just might look a little bit different.
Maybe 10 seconds or to each of you to say the last word. Dr. Mbodj.
I think that every generation in society has to deal with new challenges, and it's obvious that what made you ready in the previous generation may not make you ready in these new challenges. And I think that Sarr is Mr. Moctar Sarr is absolutely putting his fingers on one of the problems, which is that we have old models of pedagogy, we have old models of spirituality, and how do they adapt in a society where not only have wide access to all type of information here and there, but also we're talking about new type of economy, not just necessarily the traditional industry, farming, trading, but also there are niches that could be invested by new entrepreneurship. And it's obvious that the Muridiya had been well inserted into the economic front from the 1890s up until the 1990s. But it's obvious that the general kind of a problem that you have in terms of youth unemployment in Senegal is affecting and the Murid youth as it affects other youth. And as you said, overseas, some of those templates are copied without really taking into account what's new. What's the same people who do the same kind of street side type of trade that what they do in New York or in Milan, and this is definitely preoccupying in terms of the next generation. The children of today who are going to be adults need more and different.
Okay, Moctar, the last word.
My last word, I think that Dr. Mbodj, put it on the table, and I just would like to thanks and just to say, I think that's very important for those type of discussion to bring it on a monthly basis, because it's helping all the Muridism overseas or locally to be up to date, to know exactly our challenge out of what we used to see in terms of discussion related to the Hasaid or other thing, to know really what our main challenge here. Thank you so much.
Dr. Cochrane, last word.
I'll just say thank you to everybody who organized this. This has been a fascinating conversation, and I appreciate being a part of it, and I look forward to the rest of the day.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cochrane, Professor Mohamed Mbodj, and Moctar Sarr and Sidi. Thank you very much for putting it together.
Thank you.